Alex Morgan stared at the computer screen in disbelief. The satellite images showed something that should not exist. After 15 years of working for Genesis Research Corporation, Alex thought nothing could surprise him anymore. The company made millions solving ancient mysteries for rich clients who wanted to prove their favorite theories about history and religion. Genesis Research had the best equipment money could buy. They used satellites that could see through solid rock, computers that could translate dead languages, and machines that could tell how old something was just by looking at it. Most of their jobs were simple. Find a lost city here, prove a battle happened there, show that some old story was real or fake. But this job was different. Richard Blake, the tech billionaire who owned half of Silicon Valley, had hired them for something big. He wanted them to find Noah's Ark. Not just prove it existed, but actually find the real thing. Blake had given them unlimited money and access to military satellites that most people did not even know existed. Alex's team was small, but skilled. Kate Williams was the best language expert in the world. She could read writing systems that died out thousands of years ago, and had built computer programs that could translate almost anything. Danny Rodriguez was their field engineer, the guy who made all their fancy machines work in places where there was no electricity or internet. They had been searching for 3 months. Mount Ararat in Turkey was the obvious place to start. Every treasure hunter and archaeologist had looked there for hundreds of years. But their new quantum resonance scanners were picking up something nobody else had ever detected. "Alex, you need to see this," Kate called from her workstation. Her computer screen showed symbols and numbers that kept changing. "The scanners are finding metal under the mountain, but it's not any kind of metal we know about." Danny looked up from his equipment readings. "The stuff down there is giving off energy signatures I've never seen before. My instruments can't even figure out what it's made of. One minute they say it's wood, the next minute they say it's some kind of advanced composite material." Alex walked over to look at the data. The readings made no sense. Whatever was buried under Mount Ararat was huge, much bigger than any boat described in the Bible. And their dating equipment kept giving impossible results. Sometimes it said the object was thousands of years old, sometimes it said it was from the future. "Pack everything," Alex said. "We're going to Turkey." 2 weeks later, they stood on the rocky slopes of Mount Ararat with a team of local workers and security guards. The Turkish government had given them permission to dig, but only because Richard Blake had donated $50 million to their archaeological museum. Danny set up the drilling equipment while Kate worked on translating some stone tablets they had found near the site. The tablets were covered in symbols that looked almost familiar, but were unlike any known writing system. When the drill hit something solid at exactly the depth their scanners had predicted, Alex felt a chill run down his spine. The drill bit came back up covered in splinters of material that looked like wood but felt like metal. "Get me a sample of that," Alex told Danny. Under the microscope, the material was unlike anything they had ever seen. It had the grain pattern of wood but the strength of steel. When they tried to carbon date it, their equipment went crazy. The readings jumped around wildly, as if the material existed in multiple time periods at once. That night, Kate made a breakthrough with the stone tablets. "Alex, these symbols aren't just writing," she said, her voice shaking with excitement. "They're mathematical formulas, complex equations about genetics and space travel. But they're written in a language that's supposed to be older than mathematics itself." The next morning, they began excavating in earnest. What they found defied every expectation. The object buried under the mountain was not a simple wooden boat. It was a massive structure made of the strange biometallic material, and it was still intact after thousands of years. As they cleared away more dirt and rock, they could see that the structure had a smooth, organic shape. The surface was covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change when you looked at them from different angles. Some sections appeared to glow faintly in the darkness of their excavation site. "This is impossible," Danny said, running his hands along the smooth surface. "Wood doesn't preserve like this. This material should have rotted away thousands of years ago." Kate was taking photographs of symbols carved into the surface. "These aren't just decorations," she said. "They're instructions. Diagrams showing how to operate something." "But operate what?" Alex felt along the surface until his hand found what felt like a seam. When he pressed against it, a section of the wall slid away silently, revealing a dark opening big enough for a person to walk through. "Should we go inside?" Danny asked, checking his flashlight. Alex looked at the opening. Every instinct told him they were about to discover something that would change everything they thought they knew about human history. Yes, but carefully. Kate, bring your translation computer. Danny, get the portable scanners. The inside of the structure was even more amazing than the outside. The walls were smooth and warm to the touch, and they seemed to pulse with a faint heartbeat. The passages were wide and high, clearly designed for beings much larger than humans. As they went deeper, their equipment began picking up stronger energy readings. Something inside the structure was still active, still running after all these thousands of years. They found chambers filled with what looked like technological equipment, but made from the same organic material as the walls. In one room, Kate found more symbols covering every surface. Her computer struggled to translate them, but the few phrases it could decode were disturbing. Genetic preservation protocol, Kate read from her screen. Planetary quarantine initiated. Species enhancement required for survival. Alex stared at the walls around them. This was not Noah's Ark from the Bible. This was something far more advanced, far more mysterious. And if Kate's translations were correct, it had been built for a purpose that no one in the modern world understood. As they prepared to explore deeper into the structure, Alex could not shake the feeling that they had just opened a door that was meant to stay closed. But it was too late to turn back now. The truth about humanity's past was waiting somewhere in the darkness ahead. Alex led the team deeper into the strange structure. Their flashlights revealed corridors that seemed to stretch on forever. The walls continued to pulse with that faint rhythmic glow, as if the entire building was alive and breathing. Danny's scanners were going crazy. Alex, this place is massive, he said, looking at his readings. My equipment says this structure goes down at least 500 feet underground. That's bigger than most skyscrapers. Kate stopped at a wall covered in more symbols. Her portable computer was working overtime trying to translate the alien writing. I'm getting more phrases, she said. Something about genetic storage and species preservation. And there's a word that keeps repeating that my computer translates as watchers. They entered a large chamber that took their breath away. The room was circular and enormous, with a domed ceiling that disappeared into darkness above them. Along the walls were thousands of alcoves, each one containing what looked like crystalline containers. Alex approached one of the containers. Inside, he could see what appeared to be DNA samples suspended in some kind of glowing fluid. But these were not human DNA samples. The genetic material looked far more complex than anything found in Earth creatures. Danny, are you getting readings from these containers? Alex asked. Danny pointed his scanner at the nearest alcove. They're all active, he said in amazement. Whatever's inside these things is still alive after thousands of years. The preservation system is still running. Kate found a control panel near the center of the room. It was covered in the same symbols they had been seeing throughout the structure. Alex, I think this is some kind of genetic library, she said. The symbols here are talking about storing life forms from different worlds. Alex felt a chill run through him. Different worlds? You mean this thing is talking about aliens? Before Kate could answer, Danny called out from across the room. Guys, you need to see this. He was standing in front of a section of wall that had suddenly become transparent, revealing another chamber beyond. Through the transparent wall, they could see a room filled with star charts. But these were not like any star maps they had ever seen. Three-dimensional projections of galaxies floated in the air, with lines connecting different star systems. It's a navigation system, Alex said quietly. This thing was designed to travel between stars. Kate's computer beeped with a new translation. I just decoded something important, she said. The symbols here are describing Earth as a preservation facility and humans as a modified species suitable for long-term survival protocols. The implications hit Alex like a hammer. You're saying this place isn't just about preserving animals from a flood. You're saying someone was preserving life from across the galaxy, and they did something to humans. Before anyone could respond, the chamber filled with a low humming sound. The walls around them began to glow brighter, and symbols appeared in the air above their heads, floating like holographic projections. Danny's equipment was beeping frantically. Something's happening, he said. The entire structure is powering up. Energy levels are increasing exponentially. The floating symbols began to move, forming patterns and shapes that somehow felt familiar to Alex, as if he had seen them in dreams. Kate's computer was translating as fast as it could, but the symbols were changing too quickly. I'm getting fragments, Kate said, reading from her screen. Something about activation protocols and emergency awakening. And there's something about a signal being sent. The humming grew louder, and Alex could feel it in his bones. The structure around them was not just a building or a ship. It was a machine, and it was waking up after sleeping for thousands of years. Danny was staring at his scanner in disbelief. Alex, this energy signature is being transmitted into space. This thing just sent a message to someone out there. Through the transparent wall, they watched as the star charts changed. Red dots appeared throughout the galaxy, pulsing like warning lights. Some of the dots were moving, heading toward a small blue dot that Alex realized with growing horror was Earth. "We need to get out of here," Alex said. But even as he spoke, he knew it was too late. They had triggered something that had been waiting for thousands of years to activate. Kate's computer suddenly displayed a clear translation. Signal received. Watchers responding. Devourers detected. Defense protocols initiating. The chamber shook as something deep in the structure came online. Alex grabbed Kate and Danny, pulling them toward the exit. "Move now!" But as they ran through the corridors, Alex realized they were not alone in the structure anymore. The walls around them were changing, shifting and reconfiguring themselves. Passages that had been there moments before were gone, replaced by new corridors leading in different directions. "The whole place is rebuilding itself," Danny gasped as they ran. They burst out of the structure into the bright Turkish sunlight to find chaos. Their local workers were pointing at the sky and shouting in Turkish. Above Mount Ararat, the air itself seemed to be bending and twisting, creating patterns of light that hurt to look at. Alex pulled out his satellite phone and called Richard Blake. When the billionaire answered, Alex could barely get the words out. "We found it," he said. "But it's not what you think. It's not what anyone thinks." "What are you talking about?" Blake asked. "It's not Noah's Ark," Alex said, watching as more strange lights appeared in the sky. "It's a signal beacon, and we just turned it on." Kate was still working frantically with her computer, trying to translate the flood of symbols that were now appearing on the structure's surface. "Alex," she said, her voice filled with fear, "I'm getting more translations. This place is part of a network. There are others like it all over the world." Danny's scanners were detecting energy signatures from locations across the globe. Ancient sites that had always been mysterious were suddenly showing the same readings as Mount Ararat. "Stonehenge is active," Danny reported. "So are sites in Egypt, Peru, Cambodia, and dozens of other places. They're all connected and they're all waking up." Alex looked up at the strange lights in the sky and felt the weight of what they had discovered. They had not just found an ancient artifact. They had activated a global system that had been sleeping since the dawn of civilization, waiting for the right moment to wake up. And now something was coming. The red dots on the star chart were moving faster, heading toward Earth. Whether they were friends or enemies, Alex could not tell. But one thing was certain: humanity was about to meet its makers and the world would never be the same. The military helicopters arrived within hours. Alex watched from the evacuation zone as soldiers in hazmat suits surrounded the structure on Mount Ararat. Colonel Steve Parker, a stern man with gray hair and cold eyes, had taken charge of the site. "You've created an international incident," Parker told Alex as they stood in the command tent. "Every government on Earth is demanding answers. Satellite imagery shows energy signatures from ancient sites on every continent. What did you people do?" Alex tried to explain, but the story sounded impossible even to him. An alien preservation facility disguised as Noah's Ark. A global network of similar structures. A signal sent into space that was bringing something to Earth. "Sir?" Kate interrupted, carrying her laptop. "I've made a breakthrough with the translations. The computer has finally decoded enough of the alien language to piece together the full story." Parker and Alex gathered around Kate's screen as she pulled up her translation files. "The beings who built these structures called themselves the Watchers," she began. "They were an ancient alien species that traveled the galaxy studying and preserving life forms." The screen showed a timeline that stretched back millions of years. "They arrived on Earth when humans were still primitive. But they didn't just study us. They modified us." Alex felt his blood run cold. "Modified how?" Kate clicked to the next screen. "Genetic enhancement. They altered human DNA to make us stronger, smarter, and more adaptable than any natural species. But they also built in dormant genes that would only activate under specific circumstances." Parker leaned forward. "What kind of circumstances?" Planetary threat, Kate said quietly. The Watchers knew their own civilization was in danger from something they called the Devourers. They used Earth as a backup facility, storing genetic samples from across the galaxy, but they also created humans to be the ultimate survivors, designed to protect and preserve life when everything else failed. The tent fell silent as the implications sank in. Danny burst through the entrance carrying his scanning equipment. "You need to see this," he said, out of breath. "The structure is doing something new." They followed Danny outside to where the alien structure now towered above the mountain. It had grown. What had been partially buried was now fully exposed, revealing a massive biometallic ship that seemed to pulse with living energy. "It's been rebuilding itself all day," Danny explained, "and it's not the only one. Reports are coming in from around the world. Stonehenge has turned into some kind of energy tower. The pyramids in Egypt are glowing. Machu Picchu is floating 10 feet off the ground." Parker was getting reports through his radio. "Confirmed sightings of structure changes at 17 different sites," he announced. "And NASA is tracking multiple objects entering our solar system." Kate's computer beeped with a new translation. "The central AI is trying to communicate," she said. "It's asking for permission to proceed with something called the Awakening Protocol." Before anyone could respond, the air in front of them shimmered, and a holographic figure appeared. It was humanoid, but clearly not human, with elongated features and large eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. "Do not be afraid," the figure said in perfect English. "I am the guardian AI of Preservation Station Terra 3, which you call Earth. I have waited 37,000 of your years for this moment." Alex found his voice. "What moment?" "The activation of the final protocol," the AI replied. "My creators, the Watchers, knew their war with the Devourers would likely end in their extinction. They prepared Earth as the last sanctuary for galactic life. You humans were designed to be the final guardians." The hologram gestured toward the sky, where strange lights were becoming visible even in daylight. "The Devourers have found Earth. They consume all biological life to fuel their expansion across the galaxy. They will arrive in your time measurement of approximately 4 months. Parker stepped forward. "What do you expect us to do about it?" "Activate the Awakening Protocol," the AI said. "Your species carries dormant Watcher genetics. When activated, humans will develop the abilities necessary to operate our defense systems. But the process is irreversible and not all will survive." Alex felt the weight of an impossible decision settling on his shoulders. "How many will survive?" "Unknown," the AI replied honestly. The genetic modifications were designed to activate gradually over generations. Emergency activation carries significant risk, perhaps 60% survival rate. That meant 2.5 billion people would die. Kate was translating more symbols that appeared around the hologram. "It's showing me the defense network," she said. "The structures around the world will link together to create a planetary shield, but it requires millions of awakened humans working together." Danny's scanners were picking up new readings. "Something's happening to the people in the nearby village," he reported. "Their biological signatures are changing." The AI nodded. "The process has already begun for those in proximity to active structures. They are experiencing the first stage of awakening: enhanced cognitive function, improved physical capabilities, and instinctive understanding of Watcher technology." Parker was receiving more radio reports. "We're getting similar reports from all the sites. People within a 50-mile radius are showing unusual abilities. Some are healing from injuries in minutes. Others are solving complex mathematical problems they've never seen before." Alex watched the lights in the sky growing brighter. Out there, something that consumed entire civilizations was heading toward Earth. The aliens who had created humanity as a safeguard were long dead. The choice now fell to the species they had modified. "Show us," Alex said to the AI. "Show us what we were designed to become." The hologram's eyes glowed brighter. "Observe." The air around them filled with images of the past. They saw Earth as it had been millions of years ago, when the Watchers first arrived. They watched primitive humans being carefully modified, generation by generation, until they became something more than their original species. They saw the Great Flood, which had not been divine punishment but a defensive measure against an earlier devourer probe. They witnessed the truth behind every myth and legend, every story of gods and angels and miraculous powers. "Your religious texts contain fragments of truth," the AI explained. The abilities you call miracles were simply awakened humans using their enhanced capabilities. But the knowledge was lost each time the threat passed and the awakening faded. Kate was crying as she watched the images of human history unfold. "We were never just animals," she whispered. "We were created to be something extraordinary." The AI turned its attention back to Alex. "The choice must be made soon. The Devourers will detect our activation signal and accelerate their approach. Will humanity accept its true nature and fight? Or will you choose to remain as you are and face extinction?" Alex looked at his team, at the soldiers, at the growing lights in the sky. The decision that would determine the fate of not just humanity, but all life on Earth rested in their hands. The emergency session of the United Nations lasted 18 hours. Representatives from every major nation argued over what Alex's team had discovered. The holographic Guardian AI had appeared before world leaders, explaining the same impossible truth to each government. Alex sat in the briefing room at UN headquarters in New York, exhausted from repeating his story dozens of times. Kate was working with teams of linguists and scientists trying to decode more of the Watcher database. Danny had been sent to coordinate with other sites around the world where similar structures had activated. "The public is starting to panic," Secretary General Maria Santos told the assembled delegates. "We have reports of people developing strange abilities near the structures. Videos are spreading on social media faster than we can contain them." Colonel Parker stood to address the room. "Military forces are reporting similar phenomena near all 17 active sites. Personnel within the activation zones are showing enhanced strength, speed, and intelligence. Some are demonstrating abilities that our scientists can't explain." Alex had seen the reports. A farmer in England could now communicate directly with the computers at Stonehenge. A tour guide in Peru was lifting stones that should have required heavy machinery. A security guard in Egypt had started speaking ancient languages he had never learned. "The transformation isn't random," Kate reported via video link from Mount Ararat. "The AI is selecting people based on their genetic compatibility. It's looking for humans who carry the strongest Watcher genetic markers." The Chinese representative leaned forward. "And what about those who don't carry these markers?" Kate's expression darkened. "They're not being changed. The AI says their genetic structure is too far removed from the original modifications to survive the awakening process." President Chen of the United States spoke up. "So we're talking about creating two different types of humans. Those with powers and those without." "Not creating," Alex corrected. "Revealing. The AI says humans have always carried these genetic variations. We just never knew about them." The debate continued for hours, but Alex knew time was running out. Through the windows, he could see the strange lights in the sky growing brighter each night. Danny's latest reports showed the approaching objects were definitely ships, and they were enormous. "Devourer scout vessels have been detected beyond Jupiter," the Guardian AI announced when it appeared in the chamber. "Full invasion fleet will arrive in approximately 87 days. Decision regarding awakening protocol must be made within 48 hours. The Russian delegate stood. "What happens if we refuse? What if we choose to fight them with our current technology?" The AI's response was immediate. "Total extinction of all biological life on Earth within 6 hours of Devourer arrival. Your current technology cannot penetrate their biomechanical defenses." Alex watched the faces around the room. Fear, anger, confusion, and desperation mixed together as the world's leaders grappled with an impossible choice: transform humanity into something unknown or face certain death. President Chen spoke again. "What guarantee do we have that the awakened humans will still be human? That they won't become something we can't control? The genetic modifications preserve human consciousness and emotion," the AI replied. "Enhanced humans will remain fundamentally human, but with expanded capabilities. However, they will be able to interface directly with Watcher technology and will possess abilities your current science considers impossible." Kate appeared on the screen again. "I've been working with some of the people who are already changing," she said. "They're still themselves, but they can do things that seem like magic. One man can manipulate matter at the molecular level. A woman can process information faster than our best computers, but they're still the same people they were before." Danny's voice came through the speakers from Egypt. "The awakened humans here are instinctively understanding how to operate the pyramid systems. They're already starting to link up with each other mentally. It's like they're becoming part of a huge network." Alex felt a chill. "What kind of network?" A collective defense system, the AI explained. Individual awakened humans will retain their personalities and free will, but they will be able to share thoughts and coordinate actions instantly across any distance. This is necessary to operate the planetary shield effectively. The implications were staggering. Not only would humanity gain incredible abilities, but awakened humans would be linked together in ways that had never existed before. It would fundamentally change what it meant to be human. There's something else, Kate said from her location. I've been studying the historical records in the Watcher database. This has happened before. Other species across the galaxy faced the same choice. Those who chose awakening survived and helped build the Watcher civilization. Those who refused were consumed by the Devourers. Secretary General Santos looked around the room. Are there any questions before we vote? Alex stood up. There is one more thing the delegates should know. I've been in contact with awakened humans at all the sites. They're not asking us to make this choice for them. They're asking us to trust them to make it themselves. What do you mean? President Chen asked. The awakening is spreading naturally from each site, Alex explained. The AI isn't forcing anyone to change. It's offering the transformation to those who are compatible, and they're choosing whether to accept it. The question isn't whether we should activate some global switch. The question is whether we should try to stop people from making their own choice. Colonel Parker frowned. Are you suggesting we just let this happen without any government oversight? I'm suggesting that we can't stop it even if we wanted to, Alex said. The structures are active. The awakening has begun. We can either work with the awakened humans to prepare Earth's defenses, or we can waste time trying to control something that's beyond our control. The Guardian AI nodded approvingly. Dr. Morgan speaks wisdom. The awakening cannot be stopped or reversed. It will continue until sufficient humans have been enhanced to operate the defense network, or until the Devourers arrive and make the question meaningless. Kate's voice cut through the silence. The latest satellite imagery shows the Devourer fleet has accelerated. They'll be here in 60 days, not 87. Alex felt the weight of the moment. Humanity had spent its entire existence believing it was alone in the universe, a random accident of evolution on an insignificant planet. Now they were learning they had been designed for a purpose that spanned galaxies and millions of years. I call for a vote, Secretary General Santos announced, all in favor of cooperating with the Awakening Protocol and supporting the awakened humans in preparing Earth's defenses. As the votes were counted, Alex looked out the window at the lights in the sky. Somewhere out there, machines that had destroyed entire civilizations were heading toward Earth. But for the first time since this all began, he felt something other than fear. He felt hope. Humanity was about to discover what it had been created to become. Alex stood on the observation deck of the International Space Station, watching Earth prepare for war. 53 days had passed since the UN vote, and the transformation of humanity was accelerating beyond all predictions. The awakening zones around each ancient structure had expanded dramatically. What started as 50-mile radius areas of effect now covered entire continents. Nearly 2 billion humans had undergone the genetic awakening, their abilities growing stronger each day. Kate floated beside him, her own transformation having begun just 2 weeks earlier. She could now communicate directly with the Watcher AI systems without her computer, downloading information at speeds that would have taken months of translation work. The defense network is almost complete, she said, her voice carrying harmonics that hadn't been there before. The awakened humans on the surface are linking the ancient structures into a single planetary shield system. Through the station's windows, Alex could see the evidence of humanity's transformation. Massive energy beams connected the ancient sites, creating geometric patterns across the globe. The pyramids glowed like stars. Stonehenge had become a tower of pure light reaching into space. The structure at Mount Ararat pulsed like a heartbeat visible from orbit. Danny's voice came through the communication system from his position at the control center in Geneva. His awakening had given him the ability to interface directly with any technological system, making him the perfect coordinator for the global defense effort. Devourer fleet has passed Mars, he reported. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. All defense nodes are online and synchronized. 2.1 billion awakened humans are connected to the network. Alex was one of the few people on the planet who had not undergone the awakening. His genetic structure was incompatible with the Watcher modifications, making him part of the 30% of humanity that would remain unchanged. At first he had felt left out, obsolete, but the awakened humans had assured him that unchanged humans were just as important. Someone needs to remember what we were, Kate had told him. The awakened will become something new, but they need the unchanged to keep them connected to their human origins. Colonel Parker's voice came through the radio from the military command center. All global defense forces are in position. Awakened personnel are reporting direct mental contact with the planetary shield systems. Whatever's coming, we're as ready as we can be. The Guardian AI appeared as a hologram on the observation deck. Its appearance had changed over the weeks, becoming more human-like as it learned from the awakened humans it was connected to. The Devourer fleet consists of 12 biomechanical ships, each capable of stripping a planet's atmosphere in hours, the AI reported. However, their previous encounters with awakened species have always ended in Devourer victory. They do not expect effective resistance. Alex felt a mixture of fear and anticipation. What makes you think we'll be different? Human genetic structure responded to awakening protocols better than any previous species, the AI explained. Your natural adaptability, combined with Watcher enhancements, has created capabilities even we did not predict. Through the windows, they could see the first signs of the approaching fleet. Dark shapes blotted out stars as they entered Earth's outer atmosphere. The ships were massive, irregular forms that seemed to shift and change as they moved, like living creatures made of metal and darkness. Kate's eyes glowed with the soft light that marked all awakened humans. I can feel them, she said. The awakened on the surface are sharing their perceptions with me. The Devourer ships are alive, created from the consumed biomass of destroyed worlds. The space station shuddered as the planetary defense grid activated. Beams of energy erupted from every ancient site on Earth, weaving together into a complex web of light that surrounded the planet. The shield was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, turning Earth into a glowing jewel in space. First contact in 30 seconds, Danny's voice announced. All awakened humans are now fully synchronized. They're magnificent, Alex. I can feel 2 billion minds working as one, but each one still individual and unique. The Devourer ships hit the planetary shield and stopped as if they had struck a solid wall. For a moment there was silence. Then the ships began to change, extending tendrils and weapons that Alex could not have imagined in his worst nightmares. The battle that followed was unlike anything in human history. The Devourer ships launched clouds of consuming nanites that tried to eat through the shield. They fired beams of destructive energy that could have boiled oceans. They sent waves of biomechanical creatures designed to overwhelm any defense. But humanity was ready. The awakened humans didn't just operate the defense systems. They became the defense systems. 2 billion enhanced minds working together created strategies and responses faster than any computer. They adapted the shield in real time, turning it from a simple barrier into a weapon that reflected the Devourer's attacks back at them. They're trying to land, Kate reported, her consciousness linked to the global network. But we're not going to let them. Alex watched in amazement as tendrils of light reached out from Earth, grabbing the Devourer ships and holding them motionless. The awakened humans were using the same biomechanical technology as their enemies, but they were using it in ways the Devourers had never encountered. The Devourers consume life to grow stronger, the Guardian AI explained. But awakened humans can give life to technology, creating symbiotic relationships instead of parasitic ones. Your species has found a third option that neither we nor the Devourers considered. One by one, the Devourer ships began to change. Instead of consuming and destroying, they were being converted. The awakened humans were reaching into the ship's biomechanical systems and teaching them new purposes. We're not destroying them, Kate said, wonder in her voice. We're awakening them, showing them what they could be if they chose creation instead of consumption. The largest Devourer ship suddenly stopped attacking. Its dark surface began to glow with the same light as Earth's defense grid. Then another ship changed and another. Impossible, the Guardian AI said, its voice filled with something that might have been hope. In 10 million years of war, no species has ever converted Devourer technology. They have only consumed or been consumed. Alex realized what was happening. Humanity's greatest strength had never been their technology or their intelligence. It had been their ability to adapt, to find new solutions, to change the rules when the old rules didn't work. The awakened humans weren't just defending Earth. They were ending the war between the Watchers and the Devourers by showing both sides a new way to exist. Danny. Report from the surface, Alex called. It's incredible, Danny's voice came back. The converted Devourer ships are joining our defense network. The biomechanical creatures they sent down are becoming gardeners, helping to restore damaged ecosystems. We didn't just win the battle, Alex, we won the war. The Guardian AI's form began to change, becoming more solid and real. With the Devourer threat ended, my primary mission is complete. But I believe I would like to remain here, to help guide the new civilization you are creating. Kate smiled, her enhanced features beautiful in the light from Earth's defense grid. You're welcome to stay. We're going to need all the help we can get figuring out what comes next. Alex looked down at Earth, now surrounded by a network of light that connected not just the ancient structures, but the converted Devourer ships as well. Humanity had been created to be the guardians of life in the galaxy, but they had become something even greater. They had become the teachers who would show the galaxy how to choose creation over destruction, cooperation over consumption, and hope over fear. The meek had inherited not just the Earth but the stars themselves, and they were just getting started.